I thought it belonged to Allison. We were very blessed over the last few moments to hear the voice of Helen and Joan singing one of their favorite duets, The Stranger of Galilee. Those of us who attend this United Church, and I'm sure in many other places, have been blessed many times by Helen's voice. And I would make mention today that the flowers on the pew is actually where Helen sat in the choir, and the flowers were put there by her sorority sisters in memory of her. And of course, the beautiful flowers that we have here are in memory of the family. Russell and Arita ordered them, and we have a beautiful picture of Helen. Just not that we needed the reminders, but it's nice when we think about her and we think about her beauty. I'm actually very happy to say that we're going to have live stream today, and many of the family members and friends that couldn't be here for today will be able to take part in this service as we share with them. Some are in Italy, some are in Florida, some are in Montreal. We don't even know where it all will go, but pray to God that indeed all will be blessed. For those that knew Helen well, it is not always easy to do a tribute. And one of her best friends, Joan Kelly, really wanted to be standing here. But, like most of us, she was afraid that she would tear up and not be able to get through it. So I will share some of her thoughts today. Helen has been a good friend since she arrived in Portland in the early 90s. A faithful member of the Portland United Church Choir. She would volunteer to sing any solo, any part required in the anthem. I really enjoyed singing duets with her. This is Joan speaking. One member of the choir was heard to say he saw her coming into the practice and said, "Uh-oh, here comes the music police." She earned that title as she attempted to manage our music and collect past copies of our anthems. Her beautiful soprano voice will be greatly missed. Helen was involved from its inception in the formation of the Community Clothing Cooperative, a group formed in the late 90s by concerned members of our two United Churches. We are a pastoral charge with Elgin United Church and Portland United Church, and they provided good used clothing to the community at affordable prices. She would have received her 25th year pin from the Ontario Ministry of Citizenship and Immigration for the Ontario Volunteer Service Award this year. We must look into that. She could always be counted on to take a shift at the store and help sort and shelve all the donations that we received. Helen was a longtime member of our local chapter of Beta Sigma Phi, now called Sisters on the Rideau. She made many lasting friendships in this group. Helen was my dear friend. We spent many hours together talking and laughing. I truly miss her. Rest in peace, my friend. We would be very remiss if we didn't have at least one or two anthems during Helen's celebration of life. And today, one of the ones chosen is Blessed Assurance. And we have it in our little order of service. Let's sing it together. Seated, please. It has been wonderful that so many of Helen's family and extended family have been able to join us today. I'm so happy to have met so many of you. And right now, Allison, Helen's niece, is going to come and share with us the 23rd Psalm.
The 23rd Psalm from Psalms Now, written by Leslie Brandt. The Lord is my constant companion. There is no need that he cannot fulfill. Whether his course for me points to the mountain tops of glorious ecstasy or to the valleys of human suffering, he is by my side. He is ever present with me. He is close beside me when I tread the dark streets of danger And even when I flirt with death itself, he will not leave me. When the pain is severe, he is near to comfort. When the burden is heavy, he is there to lean upon. When depression darkens my soul, he touches me with eternal joy. When I feel empty or alone, he fills the aching vacuum with his power. My security is in his promise to be near me always, and in the knowledge that he will never let me go.
Good morning. I'm Russell Smith, and I'm Helen's elder brother. And Helen was born just before the beginning of World War II, and when I was 6 years old. And somewhere there is a photo of me at that age holding this infant in my arms and looking very pleased about it. How close were we? Just imagine that when I was 12 and she was 6, that she knew I would protect her, but I was sometimes unreasonable. On the other hand, I knew that she was sweet, but she could be disobedient. That didn't end. Only 10 years ago, Arita, my wife, and I, when we were married, she wrote, this was our second marriage, and we said, this is not going to be a fancy wedding. We don't want any gifts. Well, she sent a gift, of course, and she wrote, I know you said no gifts, but when you do remember me ever doing, when you do remember me ever doing, sorry, I say it all again. I know you said no gifts, but when do you remember me ever doing what I was told? Sorry. I gather she had some managerial properties here as well that I've heard about. When we were in high school, our only ambition was to be an airline hostess, or they called them in those days stewardesses. And at that time, Trans-Canada Airlines, as it was known then, insisted that their stewardesses be registered nurses. And she did not qualify in that respect. But about 2 years after she graduated, they changed their minds. They didn't have to be nurses, but they did have to be able to speak French. Well, she qualified in that respect. And so very shortly thereafter, she joined Air Canada and stayed with them for, I don't know, 30 years, but until she retired. And of course, she traveled all over the world, as did I with my family. And so we had a lot to talk about in that respect, although we never traveled together. One of the places that she liked to visit was in Britain, because our father's family, I should say, was English born, and he left behind 5 sisters in England when he came here in about 1923. And these sisters proceeded to produce a lot of cousins in England, and Helen liked nothing better when she happened to be flying through London or Manchester, which happened frequently. She could go and visit them, and they were very happy to see her, and we've had messages from them on this occasion as well. I'm hoping that they will be able to tune in on this recording. She married Ken Narroway, and Ken owned a large boat called the Vagabond, which they sailed up and down the Rideau system and we often joined them there. And one occasion that I recall specifically was, on actually a couple of occasions, they would come down to Ottawa and dock beside the National Arts Centre and have dinner and attend the opera. And we did that with them. And that was a very stylish sort of thing to do, I thought. We dressed up for that. And, as a matter of fact, which one of the daughters was it that lost her wallet overboard and had to go swimming down? But you went swimming, Cheryl went swimming, and managed to fish with a flashlight and actually was able to find that wallet in the bottom of the canal. They also had a cottage on the lake near here, and we visited them there quite often. And then Ken passed away, and then we were old. That sort of seemed to come on naturally. And the difference between us in age seemed to diminish as we got older, and we actually became closer friends in our last years than we were in the early days. And that was a blessing. We visited back and forth, although I couldn't stay in her house for more than 2 hours at a time because she loved cats, as many of you know, and I am allergic to cats. What did happen, too, though, was that a relationship between Helen and my grown-up children became very close. You heard from Allison just a few minutes ago, one of her nieces, and I found that gratifying. And, of course, we were delighted when her daughter, Jamie, joined us from Italy. And you're going to hear from Jamie later on as well. And she's come from Italy to be with us. I was proud that Helen made so many good friends in this church, particularly in the choir. My awareness of her singing voice, frankly, before this time, was limited to the fact that we sang folk songs around campfires with a guitar to accompany us. But I keep hearing reports that she had a great singing voice, and I found that out for myself as time proceeded. I want to thank the members of the choir of this church and for the members of this church in general for the welcome that you gave Helen over all these many years. Really, this was the center of her life. I also I want to say a word of thanks to her friends in Smiths Falls, to her neighbors of more recent years, who have been so good to her, especially in these last years when she's not been well. Any further reflections on my part would be unnecessary at this point, just that I loved her very much, and I am happy that she has been happy here. And I want to thank everyone of you who has contributed to that happiness.
Thank you so much for sharing with us, Russell. A glimpse into Helen's life that perhaps we did not know a whole lot about, that us here in Portland. But the person who is singing for us today, a tribute to Helen in the garden, her and Helen sang lots of times together. whenever we joined choirs, or if there was a choir meeting somewhere else and they got together, all of those things. And we are so grateful that Michelle has come to share with us today.
I come to the garden alone, while the dew is still on the roses, and the voice I hear falling on my ear, the Son of God discloses. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own. And the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. He speaks, and the sound of his voice is so sweet, the birds hush their singing, and the melody that he gave to me within my heart is ringing. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own. And the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. I'd stay in the garden with him, though the night around me be falling. But he bids me go through the voice of hope. His voice to me is calling. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own. And the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. And the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known.
I don't know about you, but I can kind of picture Helen walking around up there saying, "Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for that tribute. Thank you for reminding all those who remain that they too live in the blessed hope of seeing their Lord and seeing Helen as she carries on a new life set apart from here." I had never met Alex before, so, I kind of felt that she was a little bit of a live wire. I'm not sure. I've only heard a few things, but she said she was going to share about cottage life and all those kind of things, and then she had a message from someone, Carol, I think it was from Florida. So I'm kind of looking forward to hearing what Alex has to share with us today.
In the early 70s, Helen met two women who would become her best friends. These friendships would span decades and countries. Neither Patsy Selwyn nor Carol Harris were able to attend in person today and have asked that I share with you their thoughts and love for Helen. From Patsy, today I say farewell to one of my lifelong friends. Helen and I met 50 years ago, along with David, my husband, Ken, and Helen. We shared many, many happy times and adventures together. One of Helen's favorite times was the annual deer hunt at Shea Peak on 31 Mile Lake. She would go out on the early morning hunts and never complained of the cold or early morning rise. I stayed at the cottage where it was warm. One October, the hunters returned with a buck that had been bagged by my youngest son. Helen was so immensely proud of him, and it became a morning that Helen, the hunters, nor my son Peter would ever forget. It was a story that was told many, many times. Helen and Ken moved to Portland, where the gardens became a showpiece of irises and lilies. A wonderful display. Lily Croft was amazing. Helen loved her years up at the Big Rideau Lake Cottage. We spent many weekends there with Helen and Ken. She was always a wonderful hostess, and much fun was had by all. Most of all, I cherished the long chats we had about the things going on in our lives, especially the talks of Helen finding Jamie, her daughter, and the incredible joy that gave her. Farewell, Helen, I miss you, but we will meet again. When you, Ken, David, and I arrive in heaven, we will raise a glass of wine and toast each other. From Carol, dear Helen, I will always miss you. Your upbeat attitude, your kindness, and your big smile, your love of life, and your zest for living were amazing. That is what I will remember. We had so many fun adventures together. We traveled to so many places together with Roger and Ken and saw the world. I grew to love you as a best friend, as did Roger, the kids, and the grandkids. I will be sad not to have you in my life, but your memory will always be with me forever. I love you and miss you, Carol. Helen's zest for living was an inspiration. Her unmitigated love of traveling, exploring, led to many adventures and shenanigans. Boating the Canal Road Vagabond, canoeing Lost Lagoon at the cottage on the Big Rideau, numerous cruises, trips on the RV all around North America. The list is endless. Most of you have heard many of her adventures. I had many, many good memories of Helen. The cottage, sitting with my daughter on her lap, reading to her, sitting outside with a glass of wine, solving all the world's problems and laughing, always laughing. But by far the best memory for me is Helen meeting Jamie for the first time. Something she had long given up as ever going to happen. She and Ken had searched to no avail, but in the end, my husband John found Jamie. We went with Helen to Toronto to meet her in person for the very first time. We're sitting in the hotel restaurant waiting, and a young woman came through the door of the restaurant. Helen and Jamie spotted each other at the same time and rushed towards each other and just stood hugging each other for long moments. What had been lost had been found. Helen, I miss you every day, and as I said to you on that last day that I was honored to be there for you, I will love you forever. You are my confidant, a big sister, and a dearest friend.
And now I know we're going to hear a few words plus a poem from Helen's treasure, Jamie.
Hi, Hi, I'm Jamie. If you haven't heard yet before. First I will read a poem that I really like, and then I'll say a few more words from my heart. Immortality, do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I'm 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die. So this is so true, because my mom Helen did not die. She lives in our hearts, and she's all around us. I can almost hear her giggles, can't you? Yeah. Since we met again, Helen and I spent as much time as possible together to make up for the time that we missed. And we had fun. We traveled a lot. We traveled all over the place. I inherited her love for traveling. So I live in Italy, and I learned a lot from her about understanding, about compassion, about understanding and compassion, no judgment, about love and care, and about family life. Helen's last words to me were to tell me how proud she was of me, and that I was her biggest accomplishment in her life. We were so lucky to having shared the last 7 years of her life together. May she rest in peace and joy. Thank you. She would have been a good mom. She was a good mom.
Thank you so much for sharing, Jamie. How do you capture in a few moments the life of Helen Smith? You have heard today from some of her closest friends, from her family, people whose lives have been touched by having known Helen. We have pictures downstairs showing so much of her life. You have heard her own voice as we started the service today, singing to us. It is obvious that Helen was many things to many people. What is her legacy? I would like to sum it up in just a few words. Her faith, her love of music, and her consistency. As I thought about a word to describe Helen, I had to choose the word music. And if you were to take that and kind of make an acrostic of it, these are some of the words that would come to your mind. M, melody. Not only did Helen sing the melody part of her music, but her life was a melody. And it came to so many of us as a song. Often, as she came through the door of the sanctuary, I would hear her singing. Whether it was the hymn of the day or the anthem the choir was going to be singing, you could see her eyes as they lit up as she just sang it to herself and to her Lord as she entered. Unity, you. You won't believe it, but some of us came rushing into choir practice. Helen was never rushed. She was always here in lots of time with everything organized, and she would be standing there ready to give you out your new music, ready to take back your old music, put it away where it belonged. She was there. And that caused us to have unity, because we could just gather around her, knowing she was going to take care of us. S. What better word than smile? Can anyone here today not remember how her smile lit up a room? We can look at those pictures I talked about, and I can see it in our faces as we sit there and reminisce in our own minds some of those memories that we had with her. We are all smiling. Now, I could have used the word influence, but I felt for Helen it was something stronger than that. It was the impact that she made on people's lives. I have to tell you that Helen's influence made an impact in ways that she would never know. I remember once sitting up here in the choir. I sat in the second row, Helen in the first. But we had a choir member who was slowly developing Alzheimer's. But she loved to sing. Most of us remember Bronte. And Helen would come up beside her. Bronte would be lost in the music. And Helen would just kind of point it out. Many of them did, whoever sat near Bronte on that day. But Helen, I can remember. I was fairly new to the choir, and I could see her just kind of guiding Bronte through the whole music. I was behind her. Helen didn't know that I was particularly watching her. But her patience at pointing out those things, that's impact. And the last word in music, C, I kind of struggled with trying to use a word that everyone would know about Helen, like creativity. All of those things. But then I wanted to use a musical term. And that term is cadence. And a simple definition of that word. And as I read it, you will see how it so perfectly was made for Helen. Cadence. The end of a harmonic progression that creates a sense of resolution. Is that not what her life was all about? She lived the ups and downs. And as we celebrate her life, we know no one's life is perfect. But throughout our spiritual lives, we need to be carried, and sometimes we know that we always know that the Lord carries us. But every once in a while, we meet a person, a lady, who carries out that mission to perfection. She had little idea about her influence. Her mission, to plant seeds of love. And now, she sees the results. Her legacy, not leaving something for people, but leaving something in people. A friendship legacy etched in our hearts. So much so that I know Helen is still singing to her Lord, "It is well with my soul." nothing better than an anthem of praise, knowing that that indeed is exactly what Helen is singing and what we all can sing, knowing with assurance that we will one day meet her and meet our Lord in person. Somewhere in here I put my blessing. Oh, and in my words. Let's stand together, please. Choctaw blessing from the nations in Oklahoma. Your song will not end. The kindness you have shown, the wisdom you have shared, the love you have given, none of that will end. It will go on and on, passed like an heirloom from faith from person to person, not only of your own family, but between the countless others you have known, cared for, worked with, prayed for, and respected. You have made music with your life. You have made a witness. The harmony you have embodied and the hope you have embraced will sing on after you. Sing on to generations yet to come. Your vision will live in many hearts until one joyous day it joins the chorus of life that began when Spirit first started to sing. Those words, I would want those to be the prayer for each of our lives. And that as we carry on Helen's legacy of love to others, that you would indeed know that she walks with you as the Lord walks with you. She is present. She doesn't leave us. That spiritual body that she has now, no more pain, no more suffering, all of those things. And Helen is happy. And I'm sure smiling down on each one of you at this moment, saying thank you for all that you gave to me. There is a refreshments downstairs, and please stay. Make sure you see all the pictures, have some conversation, and we will see you down there. But first of all, we're going to sing, Go Now in Peace. To the choir.